Hi, everyone. Welcome to Domain Sherpa. We've got a really fun Domain Sherpa review coming up today. We've got Braden, Ammar, and Jen Sale on the show. As usual, we play the domain game with Alisha.xyz, PianoMoving.com, and two recent NameJet sales, MolecularImaging.com and Oceanography.com. Then we've got the NameJet Gonna Jet segment, sponsored by NameJet, and we talk about some domains coming up for auction, such as Mathemagic.com, TurboBooster.com, Biofix.com, and Labels.org. And remember, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can also watch the video version at DomainSherpa.com and on our YouTube channel at ds.tv. We now have all the past episodes there, so you can dig into the largest library of domain-related podcast content in the world for free. You can also check us out on Apple and Spotify and other podcast platforms as well. And as usual, big shout out to Dan.com, the #1 place in the world to buy and sell your domains with a special platform made for domain investors. And also, as a reminder, NamesCon Global's coming up in Austin, Texas at the end of August, and we've got a promo code for our audience to save 20% on tickets. That code is MP_Domain Sherpa. Again, M as in Mary, P as in Peter _Domain Sherpa. And you can use that when you register at NamesCon.com. And we do talk a bit about NamesCon on the show as well, as we're getting excited as we get closer to the event. All right, with that, it's now time to get into this episode of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. So let's go. What's up, Sherpa Network? Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Jonathan Tenenbaum, a.k.a. JT, a.k.a. Jay On, and I am the host and producer of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Today's show is a Domain Sherpa review, where we get into the minds of successful domain investors using real examples to learn strategies and tactics to become more successful domain name investors ourselves. These are the experts. There are 4 segments to a Domain Sherpa review. Number 1, we've got the grand opening. That's where I intro the Sherpas. We do the AKAs. We see what's going on with them, talk about some related things, some unrelated things, and we'll just do what we do. Segment 2 is the domain game. That's where we hear about what the Sherpas recently bought or sold. Everybody guesses on the price, and we keep score and give out some swag to the winner. If, in case you didn't catch the last episode, I won the last time that we did the show. So, let's see if we can keep this
fixed.
Let's see if we can keep this streak alive. Come on, man. I don't know.
Well, and now you cannot give yourself some swag.
Yeah, I know. Well, I wear all the gear anyway, so now I feel less guilty about it. And then segment 3, NameJet Gonna Jet, sponsored by our friends at NameJet, where we review a list of domains coming up for auction, and we talk about what the Sherpas like, what they don't like, and all that good stuff. And then last but certainly not least, we've got segment 4, which is grand closing, discussing anything we haven't covered already, what's going on in the domain space, looking at the market, trends, current events, allowing our guests to mention or promote anything they want to talk about that we have not already discussed. So with that, let's go ahead and introduce the Sherpas. As usual, I'm going to go around the horn. Starting to my right, we got my boy Ammar Kuba, a.k.a. King Kuba, a.k.a. Danny Ocean, a.k.a. the even greater Gatsby, a.k.a. Amarzan, and a.k.a. Cuba Libre. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, bro? I think for the next one, I think you need to add or rotate in some new ones every once in a while.
Man, you guys,
it's a lot of work. I know.
I just want you to work harder.
Tough crowd, man. I swear. I think you did this to me last time. You know what I'm saying? That was cool. It was super creative. Thank you for taking all that time thinking of me. Now here's what I'd like you to do better.
That was Shane that talked shit to you last time.
All right.
And I didn't say that these were bad and I was disappointed. I just said,
you talking about AKA Sugar Shane?
AKA Honey Shane. AKA Do It for the Culture.
Right. Yeah.
All right, man. So we're going
to because
Culture
you're
Club.
So creative, we want more.
Oh, man. Everybody, you know what I mean? It's like the NamesCon folks, we got NamesCon coming up. We'll talk a little bit about that. And they're like, oh, you did a rap last time. This time can you do another rap and let's do it live. And I'm like, guys, maybe, you know what I mean? Let's see. Let's just start with the master of ceremonies and, we'll go from there. But all right, so that is Ammar. He is a good friend, but obviously woke up, chose violence today, and all good.
Just wait.
You're like, it's early in the show. It's early. Let's go.
Just wait.
All right, well, let's continue around the horn because it's only going to get better. We started, we started off, I guess, a little slow, but it's fine. Down to my lower right, we got my boy Braden Pollock, aka Tony Stark, aka Benjamin Button, aka Eat Bray Love, aka Braden Statham, aka Bradenton Beach. It's not that your domain is worthless; it's that it's worth less. Bradenton Beach is outside of Tampa in Florida, so but you're over on the West Coast in LA. There's kind of like a beach thing, you know what I'm saying?
Not at the moment.
It all ties together. Why not at the moment?
I'm up in the mountains now.
Lake
Tahoe at the moment.
Okay, yeah, that's very Tahoe-ish. Like I said, I thought you were dialing in from Grandma's house. That's where I thought you were. That's what I thought that background was. You know,
dude.
What I mean?
my grandma died. That hurts.
Oh man, and first of all, my condolences. You know what I'm saying?
I wish I had a grandmother I could talk to.
Wow,
so that is messed up. I feel the same way about my mom too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so I feel you, but nothing is off limits here on Domain Sherpa. You know what I'm saying? So this is what it is.
And all roads lead to domains.
Not even my dead grandmother's.
Okay. You know what? The good news is I can just have Billy edit all this out. You know what I mean?
Right. That's true.
No, the show is off the rails quickly if he's like, wait, you want me to edit out things in the intro? Like you didn't like segment 2 yet, and you already want me to edit stuff out. Anyway, well, look, man, I'm excited for you to be at your Tahoe crib. You know what I mean? Are you is Morgan with you guys? Like, is he visiting there this week? Like while y'all are there, or you guys doing the team thing?
He lives here now full time. He's right up the street. He's less than a mile away.
I remember when you guys were house shopping, and he was helping guide y'all a little bit around what you were doing over there, and yeah, so that's cool. So you guys skiing together? You water skiing, snow skiing? Like what happens out there? Like,
what do you?
I don't know. Isn't there skiing all year round over there? This is like the last time Jen was on the show. First of all, she's like, I hope she watches more than just the show she's on. She'd be like, yo, JT's an idiot. Like,
I think. If you keep talking, it's just more work for Billy right now.
No, Billy, you are not allowed to edit any of this shit out. This is too good.
All right, so let's just clear this up. So there is no skiing in Tahoe all year round. Like there is not that somewhere close to where y'all are.
There's no skiing in August.
Okay,
not here. Somewhere in the world, yes, but not.
That's all right. I thought it was like, oh, you can go from the beach to the mountains, like really, like within a drive.
Yes, you can do that. But when you get to the mountains,
there's no snow. Okay. See, look at that. Everybody, climate change is getting everybody. That's what it comes down to.
There's
do people in Florida believe in climate change? I don't think so.
Hey, just because I live in Florida doesn't mean I prescribe to all of the, the default ideology. You know what I'm saying? So. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but let's not turn this into a political show. This is already rough enough of a start as it is. And we haven't even gotten to intro Jen yet, you know what I'm saying? Which is actually the good part. So let's do that. So Braden, thank you for being here, man. As always, it's much appreciated dialing in from Lake Tahoe where there is no snow. And last but certainly not least, let's go. We've got Jen Sale, aka Aussie Osborne, aka Olivia Newton-Jen, rest in peace, by the way, aka Crocodile Dundee, aka Dingo Star, aka the Wonder Woman from Down Under, aka Melbourne to be wild. What's happening?
She's born to be wild.
She gets new ones because she's, you know what I'm saying? Because she's not on that often, right? This is time number 2. So let me go through a full bio for her benefit and just so people know. Jen's the CEO at evergreen.com, at sparkly.com, head of digital at Fit for Life, which is a certified digital wellness educator and ambassador. Evergreen.com is an industry-leading domain name brokerage, specializes in high-end domain names, acquisitions, and sales. She leverages more than 20 years of experience confidentially acquiring, selling, appraising, developing, and managing high-end .com domains and digital assets for startups, major brands, agencies, investors, and public figures worldwide. She lives with her family on an island off the east coast of Australia, champions digital well-being, an extensive background in graphic design, art, web development, and online marketing, and just general overall rock star in and outside the space. Welcome, Jen. Really happy to have you here again. And so what's up?
Oh, it's happy to be here. Wow. I know. That makes me sound a lot better than I am.
Hey, and real quick, shout out to Adam Strong, Chief Strategy Officer at Evergreen. He wanted to be on the show. We told him, unfortunately, there just wasn't room for him. Maybe next time, Adam. You know what? just I'll get back to one of your emails at some point, and we'll fit you in when we can. You know what I mean, buddy? So, but I appreciate the effort, dog. And by the way, that joke comes from, I did email Adam months and months ago about being on the show. He didn't respond to my email, so now it will forever be that he emails me like on a weekly basis to get on the show, and we just cannot fit him in. But we have Jen here, so it's even better. And so what's going on? What's happening in your world?
Look, just living the dream
All
down
right.
here and just hustling every day. That's pretty much it.
All right, sounds good.
Family,
Every day you
work.
hustling. All right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I dig it.
But JT, we all had a little chat beforehand, and we think that everyone deserves AKA love. So get ready.
Oh, no.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the one and only, my favorite host with the most, Jonathan JT Tenenbaum, AKA Legally Not Blonde, AKA Wu Tangenbaum, AKA Oprah Winfrey, AKA King of the Jungle, AKA the other JT, AKA Dude, Where's My Swag?
Nice.
That was awesome. Wow, that was
That's
really
great.
well done. Did anybody
But
help her?
Wait.
Oh.
There's more.
There's more.
Let's go.
There you go. All right, JT. Well, before we get to JT, I'm going to do a little shout out for Jen. I didn't realize you already called her Jen Sale, aka Ozzy Osbourne. I had that one earlier, but I didn't know if you just came up with that, aka the Kylie Minogue of domains. Because when she does the locomotion, you can't get her out of your head.
That's great.
Braden Pollock, aka the last of the Mo Vegans, aka how many Pollocks does it take to buy a domain name? Just one, and you're looking at him. And now we get to the man of the hour, JT, aka the OG, the NFT, the emissary of this industry, aka the man that puts the ill in Jacksonville, aka the skip bro with the master flow, aka the lawyer so ill Run DMC calls him for advice, aka his rhyme's so dope even Drew gets contact high, aka the right set Fred of domains because he's too sexy for this show, too sexy for this show, too sexy for MO.
Hey,
Wow.
that was like so good. Y'all are too much, man.
JT,
Oh, man.
I just want to thank you for always hosting this show, JT, aka all intros lead to AKAs.
Okay.
What was my last one? Oh, and AKA with that.
Yep.
There we go.
Now move
With
on.
that, no doubt.
No doubt.
Man, there's a lot to unpack there, guys. I mean, well done, though. All I can say is well done. See, you guys have been, it's not as hard as I make it look. You know what I'm saying? Because you
Dude,
guys
it's hard.
killed it.
That took some time. That's
That
like
was awesome.
If only we were rappers. If only we were lawyer rappers, we could have done a better job.
Put the ill in Jacksonville. Let's go. Love all of it. All right. Well, with
And
that,
that's the show. Thanks
Yeah.
for coming, everybody.
that was it. Great job. Appreciate everybody. Like I say, if it wasn't for y'all, there'd be no us. All right. So, all right. Well,
I do
think
have one request, Billy. When I'm finishing up that AKA, I want some Right Set Fred on there in the background.
Yep. Tell him. He'll put it all in, man. It's all good. Well, you guys are too cool. I don't even know. I don't know where we go from there, but I guess we might as well just dive into the domain game because it's why we're here. But I appreciate y'all. That was awesome. All right, so let's move it along. Let's go. It's the domain game here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Ammar, man, what do you got? You got a buy or a sell?
I got to sell. So it's been a slow summer, or at least the last 6 weeks or so. So I was pretty happy to get this. It's a .xyz, and I think the reason I was happy is because I don't think I've ever sold a .xyz. So I wanted to know that if it actually really happens. So it did.
Sweetha, if you're someone other than Sweetha, if you sell a
Exactly.
.xyz, does it actually happen?
If nobody heard it, did it actually happen? So I sold Alisha, ALISHA.xyz.
All right. ALISHA. Is that what you said?
XYZ. Yeah.
Alisha.
Alicia.
All right. Cool. All right. We got our work cut out for us. So let's go. I mean, it's a good domain. We had sold, Atlas.xyz relatively recently. So it's interesting. We're definitely seeing, and I think we've seen a movement, especially in, digital asset Web3 space, .xyz names in general have just really, I think, even overtaken .io as the sort of alternative extension for, those buyers. So, which is pretty cool. So big shout out to Daniel and Ambrose and the team at XYZ. And all right, Braden, I tried to give you enough time to do whatever it is you're doing on your computer to try to figure out what he sold it for. So why don't you go ahead and let us know what you think?
3,500.
3,500. That's it? Oh, I shouldn't have. I should wait. Boy, why 35?
Man,
what's that?
That's what I'm going with.
All right. Any justification? Any analysis?
I mean, not a super common name. It's a .xyz, right?
Yeah.
I think that brings the price down. I think Ammar picked up a bunch of these and for cheap, just marked them cheap to turn them.
Okay.
I honestly, I don't think it's a high value name. I've never even considered buying first name XYZs, honestly. Okay. I like first names. I have a bunch of them in .com.
Sure. We just talked about Laura.com and little birdie told me that you replaced that with another female first name.com is the word on the street.
What was it? Louise. Yeah.
With the L, you had to replace Laura with Louise. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like it. Keep the stable full.
I like first name in general. I think XYZ is decent for the tech space, for Web3 space. .eth, I have Braden.eth, so those all do well. Mm-hmm. Certainly .com. I like them in general, but I don't think first name. I don't know. We'll see. Right. I don't want to go. I don't want to dig too deep a hole for myself.
No, all good. I wasn't trying to put too much pressure. I didn't want you just throwing out a number though, and then just passing the baton. So
no, yeah. I mean, the number I threw out was kind of a basic. I think anybody else would have sold it for cheaper. Mm-hmm. I think Ammar, Diamond Hands Ammar's got higher prices on stuff like that.
All right.
So because he can afford to hold out money bags over there. I mean, it is Las Vegas penthouse.
Look at the crib. I mean, just you know what I mean. I'm just like, I'm FOMOing. I'm like, I just want to come hang out.
You got my girl in the background.
I'm like, I just want to hang out. Yeah, there she is. Yeah. All right, Jen.
This is a rated R show. Sorry.
we're crossing some lines here today on the show, but it's all good. All right, Jen, what do you think?
One, it can also be spelled ALICIA, which is the spelling that I would have thought of for Alisha. So when you said that, I was like, yeah. And I'm not really familiar. I don't really keep tabs on this extension, but and then I just don't know if Ammar would get up out of bed to even bother doing the escrow for something that was too low. So I'm going to say, because some of these names the XYZs have been selling okay.
She's stalling.
She's so stalling.
I'm thinking. It takes me longer.
She's doing the locomotion.
It's because you're in the upside down part of the world, and it takes you longer.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, $5K.
5K. And is that US dollars or Australian dollars? You know what I'm saying? Because
you learned something new last time. I know.
That's right. They that exists. It's a thing. It's crazy.
And they take it in Tahoe. They take it in Tahoe
when you're skiing in August. Look, it's all good. You know what I mean? There's snow in mountains in certain places in August, I think. Anyway, all right. I think he sold it for more. I'm going to say 8,000. I think largely because I agree with you about the spelling. The radio test gets a little funky. One of these names that can be spelled a couple different ways. But for somebody who's buying this for either themselves, it's how they spell their name, right? So they've got to, common enough. And if they need it, they need it. So, I think because of that, I think that you guys are a little under. So I'm going to say 8,000. And had you guys been higher, I probably would have gone even higher. But, I'm trying to also, keep the streak alive. So with that,
damn. Yeah, you guys, Braden was, had the right idea. I sold it for 2,500. And I bought a bunch of first names in a bulk deal, and I just priced them all like Jen said. So Jen was also right. I don't get out of bed for, that. So they're all priced with buy now at pretty low prices. And the idea was just like I said, I got it really cheap. I don't remember. I think I paid $800 for like 20 first names.
Sure.
And they were of different quality, there were some better ones and some not so great ones. But so I just priced it for 2,500. It was a buy now. I didn't have to do anything. And
easy
simple.
peasy. All right. Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah. So, and like I said, part of the thinking was I've never sold a .xyz. I'm like, I want to see if these actually sell.
Yeah.
So I will probably go back and maybe adjust up some of the better ones and probably leave the other ones.
All right. Well, I dig it. And I think, at the end of the day, 10, 20X, whatever you did. I mean, how long, when did you,
it was probably, more. Yeah. It was probably, let's assume if, like I said, $800 and I think I got at least 20
like $40 each.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. So 50X.
Yeah. Some or whatever. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. All right. Well, good work. Good job. And great job, Braden, for getting the point early on in the game. But now you can't get the next point because you got to tell us the next name is on you. So what do you got?
Okay. I've actually got a handful of deals that I'm negotiating and haven't closed. So, I've done Sherpa the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I've used up all my recent sales with one exception. I did a payment plan. So, it hasn't all been paid yet. So if you'll accept that, then we can do it.
Yeah, let's do it. And because I think Jen, her sales are all like NDA'd. So, I think we'll probably pull some names from NameJet to fill in the gaps today anyway. So, so it's all good. And I appreciate you keep coming on the show and like even without a sale, you know what I mean? Even if you didn't want to disclose it, but I think
I brought a Jen sale.
Oh, well done. Billy, give him the nice work. And all right, so let's go ahead. What's the name?
PianoMoving.com.
PianoMoving.com. All right, and this was a sale, and you said it's pending sort of the final payments of a payment plan?
Yeah. He's I don't know how many months into the payment plan.
Okay. All right. Well, Jen, it would be on you for the to guess here what you think.
Payment plan. Are you allowed to tell us how long it was over?
I'm not allowed to tell you anything.
He's like, I'm not allowed. I don't allow myself to give you any clues.
It's a payment plan. I'm like, I'm going to say PianoMoving. I'm going to say
she's just not good at this game.
She's not on here all the time. You just talked about how often you're on the show. You know what I'm saying? And of course,
in Jen's defense, she just focuses on premium and super premium names. She doesn't do like 2-word random stuff. She just big
not
stuff.
True, because we do have a portfolio.
I'm giving you an out, woman.
Okay, all right, sorry. Okay,
she's like, no, actually, I do this all the time, and it's like, are you just trying to argue with Braden just to disagree?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna say 12K, and because I'm just trying to think, maybe it was over 12 months, maybe it's or it's over 24 months, and it's like 500 to 1K a month type of range for a piano mover. That kind of feels like the sweet spot. So I'd say 12K.
All right. So I think that's a solid guess. I was kind of in that same ballpark. It's funny, PianoMoving, you think of piano movers as a thing, right? But I guess, I don't know how many people I know that have actually needed to have their piano moved, by specific piano movers, but,
Sounds like a euphemism for something.
Right? I know, like, I'm going somewhere with it. I don't know. But you know what? So like I said, I think I'm a little bit on the higher side. I mean, especially with a payment plan. You know, I don't think it's a fantastic name, but I do think, again, it's a thing that exists and it's niche enough. So I think that I could see people putting some time into trying to develop some kind of a service around it. You know, as a way to, because it is a unique situation when you do have to move a piano. So I'm going to say 15,000. And what we should have to do is break down like the terms of the lease deal and see if we can get, you know, so I think it's paid out over 24 months. So that's where I'm at. I think 15K is what I'm saying. So
you guys took both of my numbers. First, I was going to say 12, then I was going to say 15. Man.
Bum, 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 bum.
So the question is, do I go?
He's not good at this game, guys.
Oh, shit. Jen shows violence today as well. If it wasn't for like the intros were awesome though. I mean, this literally right now is rocketed to the best show ever, like no matter how it turns out. So it's really all good.
All right, let's go with 16,000.
16. All right. Way to just, you know, we might as well have gone 15,001, dude.
Well, those are both my numbers. What am I going to do?
Fair enough. All right. Braden, what's good?
It's pretty interesting. So payment plan over 2 years.
Okay, that's what I said.
And so I baked in some interest. So total purchase price over 2 years is exactly $12,000.
Oh, wow. Bam.
So Jen's actually pretty good at this game.
Nice.
As it turns out.
Well, I guess how long the payment plan was for. So I feel like that has to count for something. No? Give me half a point, Billy.
I didn't guess shit.
It doesn't matter because I'm going to be the one kicking out the next couple names. So I cannot win this game, unfortunately.
But you were also thinking around $12,000. You said, JT, and then Ammar, you're like, oh, I was going to go with 12 or 15.
Yeah.
So,
well, I was going to go with 12, and then I said, okay, fine, I'll go 15, and then JT said 15. So
well, here's what's really cool about this, I think, is that, you know, you said the payment plan is still pending. So I think your buyer has to feel pretty good because if they watch the show, they wouldn't walk away from it thinking like, oh, I got absolutely ripped off and I'm way overpaying, because we all were literally within like, you know, right around that bullseye, because that's what the name is worth. And so are they actively using it right now?
Presumably.
No, sorry. We don't check every name we sell either. You know, it's fine. I was just curious, like, because
again, out the door, I'm done. Like,
yeah, well, I just think it's an interesting, you know, I could look it up, but again, it's one of these things where PianoMoving is a thing, and but it's not something you deal with every day, you know. So
well, I'll tell you, when I bought it, I had, I think I had just moved, and I had to move my pool table, and you movers don't move pool tables. You know, they have to get disassembled, and there's these slates, these sheets of slate, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And you got to replace the felt, and so you have to have a pool table mover. And so I just gone through that process, and then I saw an auction, PianoMoving, and I was like, well, that's the same shit right there. Like, no mover is going to come and just grab your piano, right? It's valuable, and it's got to get disassembled and reassembled in a certain way to move it and pack it, and it's the whole thing. So I was like, all right. So I threw a bid on it and ended up getting it. And I mean, I've had it for years, but apparently I had it priced right.
Yeah, no, well done. And so you said you had it for years. Do you want to disclose what you paid for it, or because it's still pending in that payment plan, you want to leave that out of it for now?
I paid $1,000.
Okay. So, I mean, great return and, and good value for the buyer. I mean, you got it at a steal. So, and I just looked at it.
I bought it off an auction, and I bought it a long time ago. Yeah. So, I mean, that's like saying, you know, some oneword.com that somebody pan registered.
Sure. Isn't worth
28 years ago.
Isn't worth $1 million now. Yeah. 100%.
Well, you got it for free. Like, well, okay. But that doesn't change the fact that it's now worth, $8 million.
1,000%, man. No, well done. So good job. And did any of you guys play the piano? Any piano players on the show?
I took piano lessons in, I think when I was at like 3rd or 4th grade in London.
Okay.
For a couple of years. My
Sounds fancy.
I was
My
just
mom-
gonna say that's some
my
next
mom
shit.
made
Like
me
that,
do
just
that.
that breakdown right there. I'm like, Ammar, I'm like, I already knew you were kind of a pimp. Now I'm like, oh, but when you were coming up in the London streets.
He's
Right.
he's so
Actually,
bougie.
you know what's funny is I took piano lessons and horseback lessons. So I would wear the little black hat. And
Of course you would.
Right.
And then in between your
right
fencing
through,
lessons,
right through Hyde Park. And yeah, it was really nice.
He's so bougie. Well, I took piano in London.
I mean,
and then I took violin in Paris.
Yeah, exactly.
at the Sorbonne.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, dope. I dabble a little bit. I can only play a couple of songs, but I saw a really cool video today that it was this guy. So they have a piano at the train station in Paris. I don't know exactly where. Dude was kind of playing, doing his thing. Another dude rolls up, just starts kind of like sort of playing with him. And then it turns into a whole thing where they basically just jam on this vibe. And then, it turns out the second guy is arguably even better than the first guy. And then he's playing like the high notes, and then they switch. And but they were complete strangers. And there was like an article that was written about just this chance sort of meeting. And then, they do this thing in front of all these people that like really witnessed just an amazing moment. It was a viral moment, but it was like just one of those things, which is just kind of crazy. You can't, cool. Recreating that is almost impossible, right? It was just the vibe was so dope, and so all good.
And those two guys just got married.
And if they did, congratulations to them. They probably played their own wedding. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. Yeah, way to go, guys. All right, cool. So like we said, Jen does not have sales to disclose today or buys to disclose. I did try to holler at Drew. Drew's traveling, and I was going to see what of recent buys or sells that we've done, but I did not connect with him. So what I was going to do is just grab maybe one or two names from the recent NameJet sales that you guys will agree not to either look up, or that will say that you for sure you don't know what the final price was, and then we can do it that way. And because it's cool, because we'll tie it to maybe a name or two that we also talked about previously on the show as part of the Name Check and a Jet segment. So let's do that. And with that, so let me throw one out: MolecularImaging.com. You guys familiar offhand?
I don't know.
Yep.
Braden? I tried to look at ones. Okay, good. Because I tried to look at ones that I didn't see you guys in the auction for. So, although Ammar's in a lot, like you're like the first bidder on like tons of auctions that I was looking at for some reason. I don't know if you just have back orders from way back.
Those are probably back orders from way back.
Like you in early, man. You early. Back when you were used to, roam the streets of London in between fencing lessons.
While I was riding the horse, playing piano.
Playing piano while riding a horse. You are so cultured. Yeah. You're a true Renaissance man. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, Shane Culture ain't got shit on me.
He had to stop because of his fencing lessons in Barcelona.
Exactly. It was the horseback riding.
Barcelona. Yes.
Horseback riding in Portugal. All right. Well, let's go. Molecular imaging. Let's start with you, Ammar, and then we'll circle through. So what do you think that ultimately sold for? I remember we talked about
auctions
that on the show.
Auctions have been stupid lately, or for a little while now. So
stupid high.
Yeah. I don't even like molecular imaging.
Molecular imaging.
$1,200.
$1,200. All right. Cool. And then, all right, Braden, what do you think?
I'm gonna double that. 24.
24. Okay. And then Jen.
I'm just going to say, what did you say, Ammar?
1,200.
1,200. Yeah. I'm going to undercut you and say 1K.
All right. She took the under. Well, the answer is actually, Braden, you're like right on. It was $26.12 was the final price of that one. So that was well done. So
which is way too much.
Yeah,
that's too much. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because when we talked about it, the Esteban value, it's like, and again, Esteban values are what they are, but it was like 12 grand. I forget what some of the other stats were. I think we talked about, whether or not, who would be the buyer on a name like that? You know, it's somewhat generic, but somewhat, not timely, but interesting, I guess. I don't know. I don't really remember much about what we said about it, but all right. Well, let's do one more. Let's just keep it moving kind of quickly, and then we'll actually go into the Name Check in a Jet segment. There was another one we talked about, I think, around that same time. And do you guys know what oceanography sold for?
Too much.
So
that's what it's sold for.
All right. Well, so for this one, Braden, you go first, and then we'll continue around that way. So what do you think? What do you? And right now, what's the score? So Jen has 1, Braden has 2. Is that where it's at?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if Jen gets this one, we'll go to a tiebreaker. If she doesn't, Braden wins. So,
Ooh.
As
I
I
don't
said,
give a shit because I'm not going to get the swag anyway.
all right, Braden, go ahead. Well, but you could be spoiler.
$3,000.
$3,000. Oceanography, $3,000 for Braden. What do you think, Jen?
I love ocean names, and I kind of like this one. I'm going to say, because it seems like things are selling high in there. So 4,500.
4,500. Okay.
I'll say 5K.
I knew you were going to do that. I knew it.
All right. So here's the deal. So Ammar gets it right. Braden wins. It was $18,026.
What?
$18,000. What it sold for.
$18,000.
$18,000.
I actually thought it was going to be over 10K, but there was no point of going.
Please tell me it was an end user, because
I don't know. I don't have, I no longer have that kind of access. But what I can tell you is the 2 bidders bid the thing up from 5,000. So I think 5K was kind of what the third place folks really, there were a handful of bidders between 4,000 and 5,000, but then there were 2 horses that basically took it all the way up to that 17, 18 range and kind of duked it out until the final winner won at just north of $18,000. So
wow, I was way off.
You were way under, but you did say you thought it was too much. So, probably if you were in that auction, you probably checked out much earlier than where it finished, obviously. And, but that one, I mean, it's a much more broad term, and, it's obviously much more useful than molecular imaging. Also kind of sciencey, you know what I'm saying? For the folks who like science.
I know, but who's the end user, and how much are they going to pay for it? I mean, when you're buying it wholesale for 18,000, assuming it's wholesale, right?
Yep.
I mean, where's the margin? What are you going to get for it? I want a 10X names like that, but it's not a $200,000 name. It's not even close.
I think it's an interesting point, because because both of these, molecular imaging now and oceanography, you can almost argue that molecular imaging actually has a more clear commercial use, right? If you're, a doctor, or you actually have an imaging facility that this is what you do, or you're just using it to for affiliate or whatever. Again, molecular imaging, you're trying. Although, what's molecular imaging versus because maybe that's not maybe that's not medical. What is molecular imaging?
No, I think it would be something. Well, I don't know actually, but I would assume it's something DNA related or along those lines. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is a medical imaging. Within living patients. So maybe so tissue samples, that kind of stuff. So so back to what I was saying. That I do think that it. The commercial use is actually clearer, although the name sold for a tenth of what oceanography sold for, which really seems like it should almost be like a .org or the National Institute of Oceanography and whatever should really have that kind of name. And at that point, they don't really need that generic .com. So I don't know, but either way,
I think $18,000 is
pretty
a
crazy,
retail price for that. I mean, I'm assuming that it was a wholesale buyer, but I feel like that's a retail price. And if it should have sold for like $1,800. And then retail it for 18,000. That makes more sense to me, but we'll see.
I'll buy that. All right.
I could be wrong.
All right. Well, either way, congratulations on the big win. Y'all got some points. And it's all good. So with that, let's go ahead. We're going to jump to a quick commercial, and then we're going to come back here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains, with 2 random guys and our special guest, Jen Sale. So we'll be right back.
Media Options is the industry's leading domain broker specializing in domain acquisitions, high-value domain sales, and domain name consultation. As pioneers and thought leaders on the subject of the domain aftermarket and domain name value, plus through their clear domain acquisition service, Media Options offers startups and established corporations an unparalleled scope of high-value domain options, providing access to domain names and curation technologies not available elsewhere. Media Options believes in the power of a great domain name and is dedicated to helping you obtain yours. Call or email today to put a domain to work for you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to DomainSherpa, where all roads lead to domains. We're about to slide into segment 3, which is Namejet Gonna Jet, sponsored by our friends at Namejet. Just to set sort of the the regular ground rules, or just so you all know what's what. We've got a handful of names that we selected that are coming up for auction. These are all expiring domains, which means they're going to be private auctions, which also means that in order to participate, you have to have your back orders in before the end of the back order period. So if you go to the DomainSherpa.com and you go to the actual page for this show, you can download a spreadsheet that has all of the domains that we've picked for today's show, lets you know what the estimated appraisal is, how many back orders as of the date that we tape the show, how many days left in the back order period as of the date the show airs, as well as a bunch of other some other useful information, CPC, and links to the Namejet pages. So we get no affiliate revenue. So for us, it's just we're doing this as a favor to y'all to help move things along. But if you are into any of the domains that we talk about today, again, definitely get in there and get your back orders in before the end of the back order deadline period so that you can participate in that private auction. All right. So, and like I said, there's 18 names on the list. So, which means you guys can talk about 6 of them each before I cut you off and move on to the next guest. And Jen, as the special guest here on the show, we'll start with you. What do you like? What don't you like? What do you think?
Well, there's not much in there that gave me the flutters. So,
Okay.
but I did pick out 2 that I think are decent. The first one is Digital Green.
Okay, Digital Green. I'm with you. Why do you like that one?
I like that one because the .org is taken by a company that raised 1.3 million.
Okay.
So if you can get that for a, decent price, I think that could be a good flip for someone.
Okay.
They've got like 17,000 LinkedIn followers. So I'm like, but they are an organization. So that just the .com for them just may not be
Okay. That's
on
a fair
brand,
point.
or they may not be interested or whatever. I don't mind that one. And then labels.org.
Okay.
Don't mind that one.
So
There's tons of like exact match companies on LinkedIn and Crunchbase.
So for a name like go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to say, but it is a .org, and I do like .orgs in some situations.
Right.
But I don't know if you've ever tried to sell a .org to a non-profit. It's not easy. But yeah, I think labels.com was also redirecting to Dymo, which is that's new with like Sharpie.
Dymo Labeler.
Yeah. So that would probably be my 2 picks of that I like.
Yep. So for a name like labels.org, what do you think is a good price to, if you're a wholesale, you're a buyer that's looking to flip it, right, eventually, to an end user. What are you trying to win it for at auction? At what point are you out?
I don't know. Like I've sold a oneword.org close to the 7-figure mark, 6-figure mark, sorry. So I know that, they can sell quite well. I'm not telling people to go out there and spend bags of money on it in the auction, though.
None of this is financial advice. Everyone, NFA, but
it's
this
also,
is like,
it's a plural as well. So like you want to then try to get the singular with it and package them up. And I would say wholesale, if you could get it around listening to what some of those names were selling for, I'm kind of a bit, I think someone's going to probably spend around the it could go into the 20s, 30s, maybe. I don't know. Would that be crazy? Like, I think that would be crazy to spend that wholesale. But listening to what some of those other, names sold for, but it is an org. No, I would say less. I'd say it's going to be in that low 5-figure, like maybe 15, 20, maybe. And then someone's going to try to flip it for like mid 5s.
All right. Well, the guys they've got opinions on this, I'm sure.
They do this. I don't do
It's all good. And yeah. Well, look, and as I mentioned in the beginning, when I gave the big bio, I mean, you deal with the high end, .com domains is largely, where you live and spend your time. You're not on Namejet, in the auctions. And yeah, I mean, look, I think that, if this, I think it will sell for probably more than it should sell for. But I think if you're trying to buy this domain, you're trying to buy it for what, like $2,000 or something, guys? Like, what do you think is, what do you think is
right.
the target here?
Right. For me, it'd be sub $2,000, but it'll probably go for a few $1,000. I
wouldn't even want that for $1,000. Like,
oh wow.
I think it's a bigger industry than you realize. Labels, particularly online, there's a lot of companies that sell labels. Jen, you mentioned the singular. I think the plural is good because, for shipping, for all kinds of stuff, for kids, labels and stickers, and it's a big industry. So there's a bunch of companies that sell labels. So labels.org, while it's a .org, which is not the best, I mean, labels.com, super valuable. And the proof was that Dymo, which is a big labeling company, right? They make, it's called Dymo Labeler, those little machines, right? You type out labels. They own it, right? Because it's an EMD.
Sundial joints, like those, like little.
Yeah. Back in the day, but I mean, they still make. They're a little bit more advanced now. But labels.org is good, right? But still, you got to spend a couple of grand on it to retail it for $20,000.
Well, I don't believe in labels. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my thing, right? But no, I agree. And I would agree with you that I think that the plural is better than the singular. I think the singular becomes more almost like a brand. And then I think you're getting into where the .org doesn't make as much sense. I think you could get away with, like, if you were we'd spent a lot of time on one of the recent shows talking about Uline and, just some of those types of services that aren't exactly sexy, but, do a ton of business. And because of that, I think that, a labels.org to me would be more valuable than like a labels.xyz or a labels.io if you're talking about trying to utilize it for sort of that old school type of, like, shipping labels and just
product name.
That. Yeah, exactly. So, and because of that, I think the name is interesting and I think it has some value. But I think that, when you're looking at what's your best case scenario, kind of like to Jen's point, selling it close to the 6 figures would really be the home run. So obviously, you've got to be cautious of what you're, if you're trying to, get a 10, 20X on this thing, you're more realistically probably going to end up selling it in that 20 to 30 range if you get the, a buyer that's legitimate, with an end user that has some money to spend. So at least that's my take, but I still think it's a great name. I like that one a lot on here. So, and I understand it didn't give you the flutters, you know what I'm saying? But what was there? So were there any that you were like, I wouldn't even take this name for $100? So any that you would avoid because you just think it's just not, it either doesn't make sense to you or it's just not worth it.
Oh, there was one that just stood out to me that I wouldn't touch, and that's Intella.com because it's still an existing company. They've obviously just accidentally dropped, like it's expired or something. They've still got 24 employees listed on LinkedIn. They've still listed the website as their domain names. Like, I wouldn't touch that one.
And this is okay. So this brings up a really, really good point. So when you guys come across names in Namejet that are clearly like, hey, this one was one that will likely be renewed because it's an active company that probably just didn't renew their domain. It was a bit of a hiccup. It's probably not falling. Are you looking at that as an opportunity to grab a name that there's an active customer that is going to have to pay for their mistake? Or you're not even wasting your time because you look at it like it's likely going to get renewed and I'm going to move on to other things that look like they have more actual, more of an opportunity to really.
If it's a generic, then it's fair game. But a name like this, I wouldn't touch. Like, I didn't even look, right? But in the scenario that you said where it's obvious that this is, the company's name and they just through some hiccup let it go or whatever. I just that's the kind of stuff that gives us a bad name, I think. Now again, if it's a generic, right, like if it's hotels.com or whatever, right, like that's different.
Right.
And that's just a name that's valuable to anybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if it's a trademark or I don't know, I just try to stay away from those.
Yeah, the reason I thought this one was interesting, though, to me, was that and I didn't realize and I didn't do a ton of research, but there are a number of companies that use. Well, first I thought, okay, well, it's Intel, right? Intel A.
Right.
It's almost like is there even a trademark concern, with Intel,
Right.
But when I actually did a quick Google search of the word Intella,
Yeah, I disagree with both of them. So
because this is probably going to get to where I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Is there are a ton of so there's some e-discovery software which might be the original Intella, but then you've got Intella World, Intella Lift Parts, like there's
Wait, hold on though. I'm not saying that particular one it would fall under that, but the way you phrased the question made it seem like
and that's why I wanted to and it's two separate things. Like this doesn't necessarily fall completely into that category, but it brought up an interesting point where you recognize that a company drops a domain by accident. And Intella.com I wasn't familiar with, so it wouldn't be as obvious. But let's say you have a bigger company that's more well known. Setting even aside the trademark issues, right? It's like, okay, they clearly didn't mean to drop the name, or it would be odd that they did. So is it the kind of thing where, oh, this is an opportunity, or, hey, this is going to get renewed, I'm not even wasting my time with it? And it sounds like, based on what you said, which is you're not really wasting your time on stuff that is really just seems to be more problematic, even if it does go through, even though you will have somebody pretty eager to try to get the name back in the event that they did not mean to let it go, But for these guys, and this is why I'm explaining to why now, sort of defending why it's on the list, or why I thought it was interesting to include it in the first place, is that when I looked up the term Intella, there was a whole bunch of stuff that kind of popped off of it. Now, it's more with 2 L's versus 1 L, and some of that kind of stuff. But I just saw a lot of activity around, there's a Deloitte's got some kind of tax platform. There's Intella.io, which is some kind of tech labs. There's Intella.
Yeah, it's a good name. And
there's Intella.org.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in, so anyway, so go ahead, Braden. You want to slide in and kind of back me up on that?
So Intella.com didn't go out of business. They got acquired.
Ah, okay.
And the name was dropped. And that's a relatively common thing. A lot of times when I pick up premium names, I'm picking it up from a corporation that acquired that company 12 years ago, and now they're finally letting it go. So Intella didn't go out of business, right? So
plot thickens like Charles Dickens.
Now either the domain dropped accidentally, or the acquiring company's like, we're done with it because it's now part of our brand and we don't care about the Intella brand.
Sure.
So that's number one. Number two, a quick Google search will show you that Intella.net developed, Intella.org developed, Intella.io developed. Like, those are 3 prime potential buyers right there to upgrade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Deloitte's got a product called Intella, so they might want it. There's a whole bunch of companies, Intella Learning, Intella this, Intella that. It's a great name, and there's a lot of prospective buyers. And because there's so many companies using Intella, I don't think there's a trademark issue. So now there's a whole bunch of people going to bid against me.
I know. Now it is like, yeah, maybe we'll sit on this one for a couple of weeks, and then
there you go.
So all right, well, no, I think that's all good feedback, and I think it's and again, I think it's interesting though, as you're doing the research, you come across these different scenarios which are obviously going to drive, and keeping in mind too that on the NameJet platform, I mean, just looking at how many names are available, it's like you can't research every single one. I mean, there's 150,000 names I think currently on the platform, so. And everyone has different ways and tools and things that they do to try to, unearth the diamonds and the gems and figure out what the real value is and all that good stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. All right. So Jen, any others, good or bad, ugly? I mean, and you don't have to, just while you got the floor, I don't want you to feel like,
Nah, that's all I've really got to say.
That's it. All right. Dope. I like it. All right, Ammar, what about you, man? What do you think?
I know what he's going to say right now. I know.
Oh.
The first one, you're gonna talk about Miyamori.
So
am I wrong?
Well, that's one of the names I like, but it's interesting because it's actually incorrect, and it's either Mi Amor or Mio Amore. So they've actually mixed up or conflated Spanish and Italian together. So,
well, considering that growing up, Ammar took Italian in Rome and Spanish in Barcelona, like that's how
while
his
I
classes
played the
violin on
piano,
horseback,
riding horseback. Yeah, exactly.
Skiing in Tahoe.
in August.
In August. So,
it's all love, though. It's good. It's
right.
Good. They like me. That's why they're so mean. Go ahead, continue.
So I don't love any really of the names on here. I like, I mean, there's some good ones that are just kind of good brands, but I don't think that there's any names on here that you're going to make a killing on. And so the names that I think are that are good, and somebody would buy them. I like BioFix. I think that's a great name. But I think kind of I'm going to just say probably the best you're going to do on that is maybe 50K. But I do like BioFix. I like Mia more. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so for BioFix, so you think, you're trying to get it for 3K or better? Is that, are you even going up that high?
I don't know. I like the name. I don't know. I tend to overpay for those kind of names. You probably shouldn't go that high, but but I do think it's potentially a 50K name, right? Like I would price that name probably at 50K. And I would, I don't think I would take less than 25.
Okay.
I think it's a $25,000 name personally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I just think, and that's why I'm just trying to hone in a little bit on that by way of like, what you think, will it go for more? I mean, I do think that's a good one. I think it's one of those names too that, maybe you can get it at a decent price in that $1,000 range.
Yeah.
But
it's worth it all day long for $1,000.
But interesting point about too what you were saying about the namejet auctions, because I've seen the same thing where it's one area in the space because we've had a relatively slow summer as well. I mean, summer is always slow, but then you take some of these macroeconomic factors into account, and things just kind of they weren't what they were a year ago and all that stuff. But so the summer was kind of slow, but but not on namejet. I mean, when you still like the names that we're looking at and trying to acquire, like there's still. The wholesale market's still just bubbling, doing what it's doing. I think you got people that, are really trying to, just continue to build the portfolio and grab these names. And it's, which is an interesting dynamic considering sort of where we are. Now we've seen a little bit of a rebound in the market and all this stuff and some of crypto as well. So, but yeah, no, we haven't seen much of that slowdown on the wholesale side for domain names, which I think is interesting. So, all right, well, what else?
Yeah. So I like BioFix. I like Turbo Booster. I wish it was Turbo Boost, but Turbo Booster is okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I like Mathemagic. At first I thought it was the trademark, but the trademark's dead. So I think that's super brandable. And I like Pressy. That's the other one that I think maybe flies under the radar a little bit, but I like that as a brand.
Sure. Yeah. And no, I think those are all interesting and good as well. The one thing is we just did a couple of shows back to back, so it's possible also, we've talked about a lot of names, and I actually had to pull one or two off that I had selected a couple of days ago, but that had then gotten renewed. One of them being like announcement.com, which was, there was a couple in there that were pretty cool that would have been fun to talk about. But yeah, I think all those, Turbo Booster, who's buying Turbo Booster ultimately?
It could be a marketing firm. It could be influencer. I don't know. It's just brandable, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I like it a lot too.
It could be something for aftermarket cars, I guess. But like I said, Turbo Boost would be way, 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 way better. But
sure.
Turbo Booster's not bad if it's cheap enough.
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So Ammar at turbobooster.com if someone's trying to get a hold of you. Better than
Right.
hung like dot horse, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
come on. There's not much better than that, bro.
Like I said, man, I haven't checked that inbox in a long time. I don't know what's waiting for me there.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway. All right. Sorry. HR will be calling. All of our sponsors will be reaching out this week. That's what I'm really looking forward to seeing
Funny,
everyone.
HR seems to be working overtime every time I come on this show.
Yeah. So it's like, what is the common denominator? I don't know. It's crazy. All right, Braden, it is on you, man. What do you think? What do you like and what don't you like?
Well, broadcast, which is what we do here every week, with the exception of today.
Exactly right. Sausage cast.
Digital green, I think, is pretty good for a flip, as Jen was mentioning, to digitalgreen.org. I think the pitch is to explain the traffic and email leakage to the .com, which they probably don't even realize, right? Because you don't know what you're losing unless somebody shows it to you.
Sure.
So a name like that, you just have to explain, the opportunity cost there.
Well, I just dig. I mean, look, regardless of a specific target, I like the name just because, digital green is like cryptocurrency, right? I mean, I think you've just got that's the umbrella. So, whether it's a specific coin or there's just, you could do a lot around that to me just kind of talk about digital money. So, to me, I just think there's a ton of potential. That's why, Jen, that was the first one she mentioned. And it's probably one of my favorite on the list, just as far as like, who you can kind of go chase down with it. Maybe not exact match type brands that exist currently, but
it's good brand. It's a good brandable name though.
That's what I mean. So, but I mean, as opposed to like even trying to chase down the existing .org folks, I just think there's some interesting applications for other folks to, that's a cool thing to name yourself if you're in the space. So
Find Doctor. I don't love the double D, but people search terms like that. So it's a good lead gen name because there's a lot of lead gen in the medical space.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing, right? I mean, I look at it like, that's not a brand necessarily. That's you're just trying to drive search somewhere and do something with it, right? You're trying to capture that. And then, people that are trying to find a doctor and then try to get them to find doctor type of thing. You know what I mean? But I do think,
but it's good. It's good enough for a lead gen name, right?
That's
to
what
build
a
directory on that.
I think the appraisal's high, of course. And, it's at 30K.
It's because of the search volume.
Mm-hmm. But I think that shows you that if you can get that cheap, you could leverage that search, right? Is that sort of how you would look at something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Locals.net, I think, is a decent name because, local and locals is a solid term. And I like .nets just because, legacy extensions still work, just like when we're talking about labels.org. It's kind of a labels is a offline thing and legacy extension works. Same with locals. And it could be dating or it could be, anything like that. Anything that's local, I think works for locals.net. Mathemagic. I had a friend that had a math tutoring business years ago, like brick and mortar kind of bunch of teachers and a successful business. It was called Math Amazement many years ago. So it's kind of similar. So I think Mathemagic would work too, but not high value and probably long hold, but it's one of those names that, for $3,000, somebody will pick it up. Pressy, good. It's a very good brandable. Maybe secureapp.com. I think secure.app is not developed. If it was, I would like secureapp.com better because of the traffic leakage.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like that for me when Secure App, because that one had the highest CPC. As far as I can tell, it almost looks like a typo in all this. But
but people are putting ads because they have a secure app. It might be an all right one just for like a traffic capture if that's what you do. If you have an app that's about security, but I don't know. Like I don't see it as a brand, like a name that I would print on a business card.
Yeah, but there are these apps that are like, hidden files or secure files on your phone, stuff like that. You want to lock it up so that another kind of layer of security. And I
But
could
what
see
are
a
they going
name
to do?
like that.
Are they going to buy that name and then redirect it to the brand name of the app? Like,
Well, if they're using secure.app, they're going to lose traffic to secureapp.com.
Right. Which is, but we said that
in that
there is
one
not.
case.
Well, and currently there isn't a secure.app, right? So, so I think it's more if you've got a company, a startup out there that calls themselves secure, right? And their whole, and their whole thing is, whether it's website security, IT security, something like that. And, they can't get secure.com. So they go with secureapp.com or something like that. You know what I mean? I think
I sold many years ago, I sold faireapp.com, FARE. And I don't remember what they were trying to do, but it was like you go there and you book an Uber and you book a whatever, various fares. I don't think they're still around anymore. And it was many years ago, 10 years ago, maybe. And I think I got like $25,000 for it back then. I'd have to look it up, but it just shows that kind of naming convention, that configuration, people are interested in.
Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of what I mean, right? So if somebody calls themselves secure, they can't get secure.com. So sometimes, they are sort of app based, right? Secure.app is an option, secureapp.com or get secure, something like that. You know what I mean? But the problem you have with those types of names is that how long can you really exist on a name like that until you need to try to upgrade to that killer.com, which, is really secure.com. And I don't know who has secure.com, but if it's like that's never obtainable, then it's like, what's the point, right? You're going to end up hitting that sort of that wall at some point. What do you guys think of webtherapist.com? With all, the idea of sort of digital, remote counseling and those kinds of things. Is that a name that's interesting at all?
I think it's okay, but it's okay. But I think anything like that, they're going to come up with something more brandable.
Okay.
Right? Like, I think the days of web, whatever are, those are old, right? Like WebMD is only, WebMD because they came up with that name so long ago, right? Like today, it's unlikely they'd call themselves that.
Okay.
Is my guess. But, so I think it's okay. I don't think anybody's, like I could see maybe maybe an individual therapist or a small practice maybe would use that for their kind of online presence, but I don't see it being a big company.
Okay. Well, yeah. So Jen, what do you think?
I agree with that.
Jen, you have some of the sort of the digital wellness stuff in your background. What's the web that still nothing, right?
I just don't like the web. I just don't like the web term. It's just a bit dated.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely do think, insider tip, I've been working with a wellness company now, like consulting, advising to them now for a couple of years, just on digital. Over the next 5 to 10 years, mental health is where it's at. If you want to get behind a trend right now, you want to get creative, guys, like if there's anyone out there wanting to do that, mess around with some names, mental health, like wellness, anything about enlightenment, spirituality, like anything like that, that's where it's headed. And, as a parent and seeing, your younger kids go through this pandemic as well, I think it's going to be really prevalent for that next generation. Mental health is going to be super important. I think I was told by the company that I advised for that even here in Australia, they're making it mandatory in one particular state where companies of a certain size have to have a well-being policy. So that's like it's really interesting. I feel like that's going to blow up. And I got into the digital wellness stuff because I could, I find it really interesting. But I think it's going to be really important over the next decade for sure.
Okay.
I just read an article about dating sites and how people are listing that they go to therapy, and in that like in that initial interview where they're chatting, they ask, like, so do you go to therapy? Because it's like a qualifier. Because if you're not working on yourself, like you go to the gym, great, but if you're not working on your mind and your well-being, then forget it.
Yeah, my
Which-
wife's
interesting.
dating profile says that she goes to therapy. It's a little awkward.
Yeah, but she
So-
explains it's because of her husband.
Right. She does say
Exactly.
that. She's
Are you-
like,
are you
my
the-
husband drives me fucking nuts, so that's why I'm in therapy.
Oh, I got to go to therapy.
We'd all be in therapy if we were married to Ammar.
Exactly. There's only so much any of us can take. But but yeah, no, I think that, and I think also, you talk about this sort of next generation, but even, millennials, and, we spend so much time online, and so many of these kids nowadays, I mean, pandemic or otherwise, like, they're constantly online. And, and I do think that mental health, and it's important. And I think the fact that people, some of the stigma has been eliminated around some of that, I think is, long from the days of, like, remember The Sopranos first episode of season 1 started out with Tony going to therapy, remember? And that was the whole crux of the show, was this, wise guy, gangster guy having to go see a shrink because, the ducks leaving his pool were making him cry, and it's like, well, why do you feel that way, Tony? You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's, so no, I'm with it. I think it's an important, and a really interesting trend. And, but I also see what you're saying as far as this particular name not necessarily being the one. And as these brands build up, and, it'll be more about the brand and not about generically calling out, like, hey, internet mental health professional.com, right, type of thing. So, all right. So this list was just not it this week. All right. So that's it. So sorry, NameJet. No, we still love you. But anyway.
No, I think
there's
some decent names on there.
No, I don't know. I don't. The list is on the
internet.
internet just like everything else. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, I think it's, look, like we say on a lot of the shows. I mean, every name is worth the minute that we talk about on the show is worth the minimum bid of $69 or $79, as it might be. But obviously, just, your name's not worthless. It's just worth less. And
Right.
Investing. Shout out to Braden, as always. And, investing into these names, it's like every name has a price that makes sense from an acquisition standpoint, and, has a potential, upside depending on what the path and the plan is and the approach. And, some more so than others. So,
Well, there's no bad names. There's just bad prices, right?
ooh,
So-
you trying to drop another heater on us?
Did I just do that?
You may have. Leave it up to
so-
Billy to decide based on.
Web therapist, I think is a decent name for if it was a retail,
There are no bad names, just bad prices. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I like it.
Actually, I disagree. There are bad names.
Well, you do have some trash, but like, no.
Well,
but
but
the names
look,
that we
I mean,
talk
you say it's
Yeah.
bad, but would somebody want it for $1? Maybe, right? So it really comes down to the price. And a web therapist, if it was in that $2,500 retail price range, I could see an individual therapist. Like, great, I'll use that for my website,
Sure.
right? I'm not saying it's gonna be a big brand,
Yeah.
but for that $2,500 sweet spot, I could see somebody picking it up.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, what about a name like Cyber Tutor? I think that's literally like the only one we really haven't talked about. Is that one more? We talked about your, math amazement, or what was it?
Mathemagic.
No, well, Mathemagic was the name, but Braden's
Math amazement.
Math amazement.
So cyber tutor, when I see cyber, and that's a term, and we talked about that a while back.
Mhm.
Cyber is still used, but more so in cybersecurity.
Okay.
I don't see it used.
What?
I don't see it used.
Security.com, I said.
Jen, what?
Sorry.
Jen, shh.
Now, that's
that's
an
a
HR
second
violation. That's
You know,
an HR
Jen,
violation.
That's the second time in 2 days I had to shut you down.
Oh.
I don't know what we're
Yesterday-
talking about right now. I don't know what we're
yesterday-
talking about.
I was on. I'm going to tell him. So yesterday I'm on a call. I was doing something, and my phone is blowing up, just like ding, 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 ding. And I look, and it's Jen. She texted me like 21 times. And I'm
I
like,
did not. It wasn't 21 times.
Okay,
It wasn't.
there was literally 15 in a row without
No,
me
it wasn't.
responding. Okay.
And
I'm like,
you don't have
what is this?
to that.
And
That
she-
did not
and-
happen.
She types a line and hits enter, and then types a line and return. And so she just, I'm like,
she wants
woman,
to get
can
your
you just
attention.
can you just type everything and then hit enter? Like, do you have to? My phone is like about to explode. Like, you're driving me crazy over here. And she says, I can't stand it when people type novels. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And she says,
she's into the whole brevity thing, man.
So I type a sentence back one word at a time, just to annoy her. And she's like, no. Every time my phone dings, it's like a hug. And so, so I text her.
I like the positive
times,
energy personally.
A whole bunch of times, and she's like, "Thank you for all the little."
Thank
hugs.
you, JT. Thank you.
I'm saying we could use more of that around here. That's all I'm saying. So
I think JT wants a hug.
I think when I came on the show and my first set of AKAs was for Ammar, and he said that was cool, but it wasn't good enough. You know what I'm saying? That set the tone. Let's just say that set the tone.
Well, and
that's
then we
something
have to show you.
That's something
how it's done.
I know that was amazing, and but it will be something that I will be talking to my web therapist about. Which is Sharon at webtherapist.com or Doctor. Whatever.
I think we should do a broadcast about it, bro.
Broadcast. I like broadcast. I mean, it is. It's like Barstool Sports. It's kind of very much like
that is a good one.
And I think that one kind of like Biofix. To me, I think it's and like Braden.
But right, it's not a 6-figure name, right?
No.
Like broadcast is if you get 10K for it, I think that's very reasonable.
That's a win, and I think so. If you're acquiring it so a name like that, you got to get it for $500, right? Because anything, and I think there's a lot of names on this list that are like that, that $500, maybe $1,000, depending on the names. And I think that, there's upside, and just like Braden said, there are not bad domain names, just bad prices. So, and
there you go.
Boom. I like it. I think it sounds good. We're trying to get as many of those little.
I got another one.
Oh, go ahead. What do you got?
No. That's it. I mean,
Yeah. Boom. Another. I'm like, you got another.
I've been saying that for years too.
Bro, you blew your whole wad already.
You have no idea.
Okay. Again, my therapist is gonna get paid this week.
Broadcast, bro.
All right. Well, I think that's the list. And no, that was good. Good analysis. We went through a lot of names. And so everybody, again, hopefully that helps. And definitely, grab the list from the site. And good luck. And we'll see you, in those auctions. All right. So now we're moving on to the final segment. And I know we're starting to push up on time. So we got about 10, 15 minutes left. When we talk about what else we've got going on, Jen, what about you? Let's start with you, and then I want to talk a little bit about names, Con, and some other stuff. And I don't really care what these guys have happening because I see them all the time. But for you, what's going on? I mean, Evergreen's doing its thing. I know you guys are doing some big deals. What else you got going on? What's happening?
That's pretty much it. Yeah, just hustling and just we got some big names that we're about to bring on board, but that's just at sign stage, so I can't talk about it yet, but when that comes out, that'll be something fun to talk about. That's pretty much it. I'm just like chilling down here and trying to maintain a work-life balance.
It's always about the work-life balance. So
you mean work beach balance?
It is a bit of a work beach balance.
So according to the bio, so you live on an island off of the East Coast. So what's the closest major city to where you guys are? Is it Sydney? Is it
Brisbane? Brisbane. Yeah.
Brisbane.
No, Brisbane.
Brisbane. All right. Well,
don't say Melbourne. It's Melbourne.
Melbourne. What about Adelaide? Is that the?
Just Adelaide.
Adelaide. Okay. And
how about the Melbourne supremacy?
Ooh, the Melbourne supremacy, or the first Adelaide of domain names. You know what I'm saying? How's that? What's up? See, y'all got me.
On the fly.
Got it moving. All right, well, dope. And you are not coming to NamesCon. I remember. I feel like we talked about this the last time you were on. That it's just too far to travel, or what?
No, I don't know. I just was kind of like sitting on the fence. There are a few people that weren't going that I would have wanted to have seen, and then I'm like, and then also I've been to Austin a few times, and I kind of now if I'm going to travel all the way across the side of the world. I like to go to different
She
destinations.
needs to see more than just Braden.
I know, or you or me, I guess, because she's like, the people that are going, she's like, are kind of suck. She's like, there's
pretty much.
all the great people aren't going to be there. It's all the cool
you
kids.
could go somewhere else before or after Austin.
I've done that. I've done that a few times, but then it just like extends the whole, like the trip just blows out to being away from home for such a long time.
Well, and we have a similar situation where we're actually headed to LA in a week or so for a wedding, and then trying to get a couple days just to do a little bit of just, because we're going all the way to the West Coast and, make it so it's not. So doing the same, but it does. It all of a sudden you're like, now we're away for 10 days or something. And it's like, there's a lot. And, it can be disruptive, school and other things and all that good stuff. But with NamesCon coming up, I'm excited. I know that, there's going to be some really good stuff. I think, we might have a Frank Schilling appearance. I know we've got Rick Schwartz on a panel. We'll all be there. No Drew. So, which means we'll be able to really hang out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, see, I was only going to go.
We'll be able to get a word in edgewise.
Without ending up in jail. That'd be nice. For a change, not having to go bail anybody out. So all good. I mentioned this, you guys were not part of the intro that I did, but we do have the 20% off coupon, which we get no benefit from at DomainSherpa or Media Options, but we just want to try to, cast as wide of a net as possible, because I think it is going to be a lot of fun. Obviously we'll miss you, Jen, you know what I'm saying? But there are going to be a lot of people there. There are going to be a lot of really interesting sessions. We're actually Media Options. We're doing we got Chris. He's going to talk some of his stuff, which I'm really excited about. Because he's been doing his blogs and things for a long time. We've got him on the Off the Market Forever show. So we're finally getting him up on stage to talk about some stuff around buying and selling domains. And, there's the some of the different events and the dinners, the, ICA and, just a lot of cool stuff. So just, M as in man, P as in Peter _Sherpa is the code. I think it still works, I guess, depending on when the show is going to air and all that good stuff. But yeah, we'll miss you. Is Adam going to be there? Is he going to be in my face asking me why we can't ever fit him in on Sherpa? What's going on?
No, I don't think so. You didn't catch it before, but I said, I'm not going because Drew's not going. I was only going to go if he was going. So
no doubt.
Drew's not going, I'm not going.
I'm going because Drew's not going.
I can't even comment. I'm just going to, I like my job. I
don't know. I'm eyeing off. I'm liking the look of ICANN Cancun. I was like, oh, that could be fun.
Oh, is
There's
that
also
actually
going to be an ICANN in LA
in November? Yeah, that I'm going to go to. I think the last time they had ICANN in LA, it was back in 2014. I want to say something like that, and that was fantastic. That was more of a NamesCon than an ICANN. Because I've attended all that stuff, and when I was the policy guy for web. I'd have to go and sit through a lot of those sessions, and ICANN can be kind of a drag. No offense to all of our policy wonk friends out there, but the ICANN LA felt like as much of a NamesCon, a lot of biz dev, a lot of networking, some cool parties.
A lot of investors were at that one.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of the other ICANN conferences are just a bunch of propeller heads.
Yeah, and I've been in the room with the propeller heads with my propeller on. You know what I'm saying? And the LA one, I mean, I remember Bhavin and, the Radix folks, they had an event at the Magic Castle. And then, there was their after party at their little bungalow crib right there at the foot of the Hollywood Hills. And which was, not bad. It's oh yeah, this is our spot. We like magic. So we like to be close to the Magic Castle or whatever it was. And it's man, y'all on a different level. You know what I mean? And so that was a lot of fun. So yeah, I think November ICANN could be really cool. When is Cancun? When's ICANN Cancun? When's that? March. All right. So it's in March. All right. Yeah. So that could be a move too. I mean, I think all the ones that are accessible to a lot of folks, a lot of domain investors make it too. Those end up being, and we haven't had as many of those, they've been pretty kind of spread out. And obviously there was, the COVID was just disruptive in general. But yeah, I think ICANN in LA in November will be great. NamesCon in Austin is going to be fantastic. Even with certain people not being there, it's going to be great. And
ICANN in March.
And ICANN in Cancun in March. All right, I love it. When are we going to have ICANN in Brisbane or Sydney? How do you say Sydney? Is Sydney said weird too?
Sydney. Sydney.
All right, cool.
Well, I'm trying to get a NamesCon out there.
Ooh, that would be well.
Yeah,
so we had NamesCon Europe, right? So that was Lisbon, which was a blast. That was a lot of fun. And then
we've been doing it. It was domaining Spain and then domaining Europe, and then we turned that into NamesCon Europe. But I'm trying to convince Soren to do Australia, and he's game. I mean, he was a couple of years ago, but then COVID and everything. So I'm going to revisit that. We have a planning meeting the Monday before the show, and
Jen's still not going to go though. She's still going to be like,
no. She's not going to.
She's like, I was going to be in, but there's none of the cool people are going to be there, so I'm just going to chill at home instead. But hey, have fun, guys.
It was people I needed to meet for business. Oh my gosh.
No, hey, it's all good.
No.
So, but yeah, no, cool. That's all sounds great. I don't know what where we're at this point, what we're even talking about, but great stuff.
Yeah.
So
right.
I'm just gonna pick it up. So Jen and I have been working on a deal for weeks, and we're co-brokering. I represent the buyer, she represents the seller, and we have back and forth for weeks. Finally got a deal done. Got the thing drafted, the purchase agreement. I sent it to the buyer. He sends it back to me with like some ridiculous provision change. I don't even remember what it was, but I was like, I'm not even sending this because it's a non-starter. I know what it was. If the buyer decides to terminate at any point, the seller returns all of the money, including escrow fees. I'm like, what? That's not how financing works. Like, because of finance plan. Anyway, I got an email yesterday. After 2 weeks of them quote unquote reviewing, they have decided to not go forward, which is super annoying. It was a solid, 6-figure name, oneword.com. And, Jen and I, thank you, Jen. We put a lot of time into this and now we make nothing. So that's annoying.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, we talk about our wins all the time on the show, right? And I'm sure that can be a little exhausting for people when they and it feels like we're just constantly, and we're doing it to help, obviously, as we talk about the different pieces and things that we talk about. But, that was, as we talk about therapy and things and keeping it real, like that's a nice, a little bit of sharing, a loss and, and it happens. Look, we've been in, and I think this time, this is kind of what I was saying too about the macroeconomic factors. When things get a little bit tight, companies, markets, things like that, we also see a tendency for deals to fall apart, and so we've thankfully, our bigger deals that we've had pending for a minute, knock on wood, have been doing, pretty well. But, we've seen a couple of smaller ones that, where all of a sudden, the buyers are ghost and, that kind of thing. Yep. And so, it is, and it is a lot of effort, man. And it really sucks to go through the entire process and all the back and forth. That's another thing. People think like, oh, you domain brokers, you guys make all this money, and it's so easy. And it's like, if it was easy, y'all would be doing it and be just as successful as we are at it. And, it's a lot of work, and it sucks when you put in all that effort, you get right there to the finish line, and then it doesn't happen. So, yeah,
annoying.
All right. Well, look, we are out of time officially, and but this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys so much for being here. The extra AKAs were a moment. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that. Expect to see that all cut up, and we're gonna get a lot of mileage out of that. But I appreciate you guys. It means a lot. Oh man, he's putting the business out in the street. Look. Oh, and he's got your little bio picture in there too. Look at that, you guys. It's like
so many hugs. Thanks.
Oh, look at it.
Size proof.
So, anyway, thank you, everybody. Appreciate all y'all for taking the time. Jen, especially you. I know the time difference is crazy, and having to put up with these guys makes it that much more crazy. But all good, and I hope the audience enjoyed it. For the audience, like I say in every show, thank you all for tuning in. Without you, there is no us, so we appreciate that. If you need to get a hold of us, you know where to find us. I appreciate the comments that y'all have been leaving on the blog, as well as the tweets and all that other good stuff. Again, we're not hard to find, so definitely hit us up with the good, the bad, the ugly. We are here for y'all. And for whoever is actually going to be there in person at NamesCon at the end of the month, definitely come up, say what's up. Let's hang out. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. and for those of us who will be there. So, all right. So with that, thank you guys again, and we'll see everybody next time here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Peace out.
Peace.
Bye.